Lieutenant Alara Voss was flying through space alone. Her ship, Odyssey 7-1, was small and built for long trips into unknown parts of the galaxy. She wasn't on a war mission or looking for a fight. She was just doing her job, exploring where no human had gone before. She had been flying for weeks, passing stars that were dying, floating through clouds of dust so big they looked like storms frozen in time, and seeing planets that no one back home had ever seen. Space was beautiful, but it was also lonely. Sometimes she missed hearing another voice, even if it was just static on the radio. Earth was far behind her. The last message she got from Earth Control was simple. Go as far as you can. Send us what you find. Stay safe. That's exactly what she was trying to do. Then something changed. Her sensors picked up a strange signal. Not loud, not clear, but definitely not natural. It felt like someone or something was out there. Alara leaned closer to her screen, eyes narrowing. She adjusted course slightly and started moving toward the source of the signal. I'm going in, she said quietly, mostly to herself. There was no answer, just the soft hum of the ship's systems and the sound of her own breathing. As she flew deeper into the dark, the stars seemed to grow dimmer. The silence felt heavier. She tried calling Earth again, but all she got was static. Okay, she whispered. Guess I'm really on my own here. Suddenly something appeared on her radar. A shape. Then more. They moved slowly, silently, like shadows drifting through the stars. Alara's heart pounded. What are you? She asked no one. She ran a scan. No match, no data. No records. These weren't rocks. They weren't friendly ships. They weren't anything she recognized. And then, just as quickly as they showed up, they vanished, but not before sending out a signal. A ping. It hit her ship like a whisper in the dark. Something had seen her. Something knew she was there. Before she could react. The screen went blank. She sat still, staring at it. Then she reached for the controls, ready to turn back. But she hesitated. Something told her this was important, that she had just stepped into something bigger than herself. She didn't know what was waiting out there, but she couldn't turn away now. Far across the stars, in a place humans had never dreamed of, the Zalari Dominion watched. The Zalari were an ancient empire, powerful and proud. Their cities floated in space. Their machines thought faster than most minds. They ruled thousands of worlds with cold precision. They were also always watching. At the edge of their territory, orbiting a dead moon, was Sentinel Station Theta. Its only job was to look outward, to watch for danger. Watcher Prime, the AI, that controlled the station, saw everything. When the small object entered Zalari space, Watcher Prime took note. It was slow, weak, alone, but it was new. New meant unknown. Unknown meant risk. Within seconds, the alert went out. Within minutes, the high command on Zalarian was informed. Across the Empire, ships powered up. Defenses rose. Leaders gathered. Panic began to spread. Because to the Zalari, this wasn't just a traveler. This was the beginning of an invasion. Back aboard Odyssey 7, Alara had no idea what she had done. She landed on a rocky planetoid to investigate the strange energy she had detected earlier. As she stepped out in her suit, the ground crunched underfoot. Above her, the sky was black and empty. Peaceful. She almost smiled. I guess I'm the first human here, she said softly. But she wasn't the first to walk this land. Beneath the dust and stone were broken towers, old metal and symbols carved into rock that no human had ever seen. Alara recorded everything carefully. She didn't realize it yet, but these ruins were older than Earth itself. Older than the Zalari. Older than anyone currently ruling the stars. As she finished her scans, she uploaded them into her ship's memory and prepared to leave. Behind her, something stirred. Not alive, not awake, but watching, waiting. Meanwhile, back in Zalari space, the debate raged. Some leaders believed the human was a scout for a larger force. Others thought it might be a test, a way to measure Zalari defenses. A few even suggested it was a trick, something smaller races used to hide their true strength. One thing they all agreed on: Earth was now on their radar, and once you were on the Zalari radar, you didn't get taken off easily. Orders were given, scouts were dispatched, plans were made. Some were defensive, others were not. The Zalari Empire was preparing for war, and all because of one woman flying alone in the dark. Alara didn't know any of this. She was too busy trying to survive. Her ship was low on fuel, her food supply was running thin, and now she had questions that needed answers. Who, or what, had she seen in the distance? What was that signal? Why had the ruins felt familiar? She didn't have time to wonder long, because soon the Zalari would come looking for her, and when they did, everything would change. For Earth, for the galaxy, and for Alara Voss. Let me know if you'd like me to continue with Part 2 in the same style, or if you want this turned into a full story with dialogue and action scenes. Alara sat in the cockpit of Odyssey 7, staring at the ruins she had just scanned. Her heart was still racing a little, not from fear, but from excitement. She had seen ancient ruins on Earth before, pyramids, temples, broken cities, but nothing like this. This wasn't just old. It felt forgotten. She uploaded all the data into her ship's memory and leaned back in her seat. The silence pressed in again, thick and heavy. She looked out the window one last time before firing up the engines. "Okay," she said quietly. "Let's get out of here." As the ship lifted off the rocky surface, dust swirled around her, like a storm. The thrusters hummed as she climbed higher, breaking free of the planetoid's weak gravity. The stars returned, stretching endlessly in every direction. She punched in a course back toward known space and settled in for the long ride home. But something didn't feel right. Her sensors started beeping softly, then louder. A new signal. Not from Earth, not from her ship. Something else. She frowned and checked the readings. The signal was strong, fast, and coming from behind her. Someone or something was following her, or maybe they were just watching. Either way, she wasn't alone anymore. Back in Zalari space, the panic was growing. The high command gathered in a dark chamber deep inside the capital city of Vale. Towering holograms showed images of Ilara's tiny ship entering their territory. They zoomed in on her face, captured by a distant satellite. "She came alone," one leader said. "That means nothing," another replied. "Scouts always come alone. The army follows." They argued for hours. Some believed Earth was testing them. Others thought it was a trick to distract the Empire while something bigger moved in somewhere else. One general stood up and slammed his fist on the table. "We cannot wait to find out," he growled. "We must act now." Another voice spoke calmly from the shadows. "And what if we are wrong?" Silence fell over the room. The speaker stepped forward. He was older than the others, with silver armor and calm eyes. "What if this human is not a threat?" he asked. "What if she is only trying to learn? What if she is not the enemy, but the key to something greater?" There was more silence. Then the High Chancellor finally spoke. "Send scouts," he ordered. "Find her, watch her, learn who she really is." And so the hunt began. Alara had no idea she was being followed. She was too focused on the strange ruins she had found. As her ship flew through space, she reviewed the scans again and again. There was something odd about the symbols carved into the stone. They didn't match any known language, not Zalari, not even anything recorded in Earth's databases. It was like they belonged to a civilization that had never been discovered. She opened up a message log and started typing. Log. Entry day 43. I found something unusual, an ancient structure on an unnamed rock. The carvings suggest intelligence, but nothing matches any known records. Could be pre-Zalari or even pre-human. Need further study. She paused, thinking, then added, "If this place is real, someone built it. And if someone built it, they might still be out there." She sent the message toward Earth, hoping it would reach home. But she didn't know the Zalari were already reading it. Their AI systems intercepted the signal almost instantly. The moment she hit send, the message was copied, translated, and placed on the desk of the High Chancellor himself. He read it slowly, carefully. Then he turned to his advisors. "This is not a war message," he said. "This is a message of discovery." Still, others weren't convinced. She could be lying, one said, trying to hide her true mission. Or she could be telling the truth, the older general replied. Maybe we should find out. So, the Zalari made a decision. They launched a stealth fleet, fast, quiet ships that could follow Odyssey 7 without being seen. Their orders were simple. Do not attack. Do not make contact. Just watch and report everything. Meanwhile, Alara was flying through a field of asteroids when trouble found her. Without warning, her radar lit up. Multiple objects closing in fast. She gripped the controls. Whoa! Whoa, what the? Before she could react, a blast of energy shot past her ship. She ducked instinctively, even though there was no real danger yet. Okay, she muttered. That was close. She looked around, scanning for the source. Nothing showed up on visual, but the sensors kept picking up movement. They're cloaked, she realized. She quickly changed course, diving into the asteroid field. If they wanted to play hide-and-seek, she could play too. Behind her, the Zalari ships followed, weaving between rocks and debris like ghosts. Alara pushed her engines to full power. Sparks flew from the control panel. Warning lights blinked red. She gritted her teeth. Come on, baby, don't quit on me now. Just then, one of the Zalari ships made a mistake. Its cloak flickered. For half a second, she saw it. Big, sleek, dangerous. And it was gaining on her. She dove between two large rocks and pulled a sharp turn, sending her into a narrow tunnel of floating debris. The Zalari ship tried to follow, but it was too big. It clipped a rock and spun out of control. She didn't stop to watch. She blasted out the other side and hit the jump drive. Space twisted around her, stars stretched into lines, and then she was gone. On Zalari command, the leaders watched the feed from the failed chase. She escaped, one said bitterly. She won. For now, another replied. The older general stood up. She's fast, smart, brave, he said, and she doesn't know how important she is. The High Chancellor nodded. We need to understand her, he said, before we decide what to do next. They agreed. The chase was over, but the game had only just begun, because Alara didn't know it yet, but she had set off a chain reaction across the galaxy. And soon, others would come looking for her too. Let me know if you'd like. Part 3T. Next, or if you want this turned into a full story with dialogue and action scenes. Alara flew through space like a ghost trying to outrun the wind. Her ship, Odyssey 7 Nun, had taken a beating during her escape from the Zalari ships. Sparks still danced from a loose wire near the engine panel, and one of the thrusters sputtered every time she tried to turn too sharply. But she was alive. That was what mattered. She leaned back in her seat, letting out a long breath. Okay, she muttered. That was way too close. She checked her fuel levels. Not great. She needed to find a safe place to land and make repairs before she could head back to Earth. The problem was there weren't many safe places this far out. Most planets were either uninhabitable or already claimed by other species. She scanned the nearby systems, looking for anything that might work. One planet caught her eye, small, rocky, with a thin atmosphere and low radiation levels. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than floating in space waiting for something else to shoot at her. She set a course and hoped for the best. As she flew closer, the planet came into view. It looked dead at first glance, just another rock drifting through the void. But as she circled above the surface, her sensors picked up something strange. A signal. Weak, broken, but definitely not natural. Someone, or something, was down there. She frowned and adjusted her approach. The signal was coming from deep underground. That meant ruins, or maybe an old base. Either way, she had to check it out. She landed carefully on a flat patch of ground near the source of the signal. As soon as her boots hit the dusty surface, she pulled out her scanner and started walking. The air was thin, but breathable through her suit's filters. The sky was dark red, like a storm that never broke. Rocks jutted out like broken teeth, and the wind howled softly around her. Then her scanner beeped louder. She had found it. Half buried under layers of dust and stone was a metal hatch. It looked ancient, covered in rust and cracks, but it was clearly made by intelligent hands. She knelt down and brushed away some of the dirt. Strange symbols were carved into the metal. They looked familiar, like the ones she had seen on the last planet. She tapped on the hatch with her gloved hand. Nothing happened. She tried scanning it again. Still nothing. She sighed and reached into her toolkit, pulling out a small welding torch. If she couldn't open it the easy way, she'd do it the hard way. The torch hissed to life and she started cutting through the weakened metal. Sparks flew, lighting up the darkness. After a few minutes, the hatch gave way with a loud creak. A blast of stale air rushed out, carrying the scent of old dust and forgotten time. Alara stepped inside. The tunnel was dark, but her helmet light cut through the shadows. The walls were lined with more carvings, symbols, pictures, stories frozen. In time, she walked slowly, carefully, taking it all in. Then she saw it. At the end of the tunnel was a large room filled with machines. Some were broken beyond repair, others still hummed faintly with power. In the center stood a tall structure, a kind of tower made of black glass. She approached it cautiously. The moment she touched it, the room lit up. Lights blinked to life. Panels flashed with unreadable text. And then, a voice echoed through the chamber. It wasn't human. It was cold, sharp, and full of meaning she couldn't understand. But it was speaking. To her. She backed away slowly, heart pounding. The machine responded, shifting its tone slightly, as if trying to adjust to her presence. Suddenly, data began pouring into her suit system. Maps, histories, names. Not Zalari, not human. Something older, something forgotten. She realized what she was standing in. This wasn't just a ruin. It was a message, a warning, and she had just turned it on. Back in Zalari space, the High Command was still reeling from Alara's escape. The failed pursuit had left them shaken. She had outmaneuvered their best pilots. She had disappeared before they could catch her. Now she was gone again, or so they thought. One of their tracking satellites, orbiting a dead star, suddenly picked up a new signal. It was weak, fragmented, but unmistakable. It matched the frequency used by Odyssey 7. They traced it to a remote planet, one that hadn't been visited in centuries. "She's there," one of the officers said. The High Chancellor leaned forward. "Send scouts," he ordered. "Quietly. We need to know what she's doing." He turned to the older general who had argued for caution before. "This is your chance," he said. "Find out what she knows." The general nodded. "I will," he promised. And so, another mission was launched. Stealth ships slipped into the void, heading toward the same lonely planet where Alara now stood. Unaware of the danger closing in, behind her, Alara stumbled out of the ancient chamber, her mind spinning. The data she had received was overwhelming. Images of wars fought across galaxies, civilizations rising and falling like waves, and something called the Cathar. Whoever, or whatever they were, they had ruled this part of space long before. The Zalari. They had built these ruins, left these warnings, and then vanished. She sat down on a rock, staring at the sky. "What did I just find?" she whispered. Her suit's screen flickered with a message. New data uploading. She watched as maps formed on the display. Star routes, hidden worlds, secrets buried beneath history. And then, something else appeared. A second signal, coming from somewhere else in the galaxy. It was faint, but it matched the same pattern as the one she had just activated. There were others like this place, others like her. She didn't have time to think about it. A noise behind her made her jump. Footsteps. Soft. Careful. She turned quickly, reaching for the weapon on her belt. 3 figures stepped out of the shadows, tall, cloaked, silent. Zalari. She took a step back. They raised their hands slowly. One of them stepped forward. "We mean no harm," he said. His voice was calm. Measured. "We only want to talk." Ilara tightened her grip on her weapon. "I don't believe you," she said. The Zalari leader lowered his hood. His face was sharp, his eyes tired. "We are not here to hurt you," he said. "We are here to learn." She stared at him. "Learn? What?" "About you," he said simply. "And about what you found." Silence stretched between them. Then, the ground trembled. A deep rumble rolled through the planet. From below, from the ruins. Something was waking up. Let me know if you'd like part 4 next, or if you'd like this turned into a full story with dialogue and action scenes. The ground shook again, harder this time. Dust rained down from the sky like gray snow. The Zalari scouts looked at each other, their sharp eyes narrowing. Ilara tightened her grip on her weapon and took a step back. "What did you do?" one of them asked, voice low and serious. "I didn't do anything," she said. But even as she said it, she knew something was happening below them. Something ancient. Something powerful. The rumble grew louder, turning into a deep, echoing hum that vibrated through her bones. The metal hatch she had cut open earlier groaned like it was alive. A pulse of light shot out from beneath the surface, lighting up the dust-covered rocks around them. Ilara's suit sensors went wild, energy levels spiking, unknown signatures, movement underground. She looked at the Zalari leader. "We need to move," she said. He nodded once. Agreed. They all ran toward the edge of the ruins, dodging falling debris and stepping over broken stone. Behind them, the earth cracked open like an old wound being torn apart. From the darkness rose something massive. It wasn't a machine. It wasn't a creature. It was both. A tall black tower pushed its way out of the ground, glowing with lines of soft blue light. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Around it, more shapes began to rise, tall statues that moved, eyes glowing, limbs shifting as if waking from a long sleep. Ilara stared in awe. "What is that?" she whispered. The Zalari leader didn't answer. He was too busy raising his communicator. "This is Commander Kale," he said. "We have a situation. Unknown structures are activating, requesting immediate backup." Static. Then a voice came through, shaky and distant. "Commander, we see it. We're sending ships now." Above them, the sky darkened, not from clouds, but from something else. Ships. Dozens of them. Zalari warships dropping out of warp space, their engines burning bright against the red sky. They hovered above the battlefield, scanning, waiting for orders. But before anyone could act, the tower let out a sound, not loud, but deep, like thunder buried under ice. And then it spoke, not in words, in thought. Images flooded Ilara's mind. Worlds burning. Ships falling from the sky. Beings made of shadow and fire walking among stars. One word echoed through her thoughts. Awakened. She fell to her knees, gasping. Kale caught her arm. "You saw it too," he said. She nodded, trying to catch her breath. "That wasn't just a message," she said. "That was a warning." Behind them, the statues were moving faster now. Their bodies clicked and shifted like machines waking after centuries of silence. They turned their heads toward the sky, toward the Zalari ships. Kyle raised his hand. "No. Weapons," he ordered his team. "Not yet." The soldiers hesitated but obeyed. Ilara stood slowly, heart still pounding. "We don't know what they are," she said, "or who built them." Kyle looked at her. "But you think they're connected to the ruins?" She nodded. They were left behind. Maybe as guardians, or maybe as weapons. Kale's face was unreadable. "If they're weapons," he said quietly, "then someone must have feared something enough to build them." Before Alara could respond, another signal lit up her scanner. New data incoming. She opened it. More maps. More locations, across the galaxy, scattered like breadcrumbs. She stared at the screen. There are more of these places, she whispered. All over. Kale's eyes widened. You mean, these towers, she said. They're not just here, they're everywhere. Silence stretched between them. Then the sky split open. New ship dropped out of warp. But it wasn't Zalari. It was bigger, older, covered in symbols that glowed faintly in the red light. It hovered above the battlefield like a god watching mortals fight. From its belly, a ramp lowered, and figures stepped, out, tall, thin, eyes like stars. They weren't Zalari, they weren't human. They were Cathar, the ones who had built the ruins, the ones who had vanished long ago. And now, they were back. Back on Earth, the signal finally arrived. Alara's last transmission, bouncing through space, had finally reached home. Scientists gathered around the screen as the message played, her voice calm but urgent. I found something. Something big. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's real. There are others out there, not just Zalari, not just us. Someone older, someone who left warnings across the stars. There was a pause. Then she said, "They're waking up." The room went silent. Governments were called into emergency sessions. Military leaders reviewed the data. News leaked. Panic spread. Some people believed it was the beginning of a new era. Others feared it was the end. Either way, Earth knew one thing. They were not alone, and they never had been. Back on the planet, the Cathar walked forward. Their steps were slow, deliberate. Their eyes locked onto the Zalari commander and the human beside him. Kale stepped forward first. "I am Commander Kale of the Zalari Dominion," he said. "We come in peace." The tallest Cathar tilted its head slightly, studying him. Then it spoke. Its voice was like wind through stone. "You are late." Alara stepped forward. "I activated the tower," she said. "I didn't mean to wake anything up." The Cathar looked at her. "You did not wake us," it said. "You only gave us reason to return." Alara frowned. "To return from where?" The Cathar looked up at the sky. "To where we belong." Kale and Alara exchanged a look. This wasn't just about Alara anymore. This wasn't just about the Zalari. This was about everything. The galaxy was changing, and they were standing right in the middle of it. Let me know if you'd like more. Part. Farisum next, or if you want this turned into a full story with dialogue and action scenes. The silence after the Cathar's words was heavy. No one moved. Not the Zalari soldiers. Not Alara. Not even the ancient machines rising from the ground like ghosts of a forgotten war. Then the sky above them filled with more ships. Zalari reinforcements had arrived. Dozens of sleek warships hovered in formation, weapons powered and ready. From their bellies dropped armored squads, landing silently around the ruins. Commander Kyle raised a hand. No sudden moves. He ordered his men. "We don't know what we're dealing with." Alara stood beside him, heart pounding. She looked up at the Cathar leader again. It was watching her now, not the Zalari. "You said I gave you reason to return," she said carefully. "What does that mean?" The Cathar stepped forward slowly, its tall, thin frame casting a long shadow across the broken stone. "We left because we had to," it said. "Not because we wanted to." It raised a hand, and the black tower behind it pulsed with light, again. Images filled the air around them, holograms of battles fought among stars, of cities burning in space, of fleets falling like rain. Alara watched in shock. "What happened?" she whispered. The Cathar turned its glowing eyes on her. "We were betrayed," it said simply. "By those who came after us." Kale stiffened. "You mean the Zalari?" The Cathar tilted its head slightly. "No," it said. "Not just your kind. Many others. They rose while we slept. Built empires on our bones, forgot who came before." Silence fell again. Then Kale spoke. "If you are here to take back what was yours," he said, "then why speak to us? Why not strike first?" The Cathar looked past him toward the horizon. "Because this time," it said, "we choose differently." Back on Earth, the message from Alara had caused chaos. Her warning had reached every major government. Some leaders called for immediate action, sending military ships into deep space to protect human interests. Others argued for peace, saying this was a chance to learn, not fight. In the middle of it all stood Dr. Lila Chen, Earth's chief scientist for interstellar exploration. She sat in a dark room, surrounded by holographic screens showing data from Alara's last transmission. She stared at the image of the Cathar. "They're real," she whispered. "They were always real." Behind her, General Marcus Reyes leaned against the wall. "So what do we do?" he asked. "Sit back and hope they're friendly?" Dr. Chen didn't look away from the screen. "No," she said. "We listen. We learn. And we decide if we want to be part of history or repeat it." Reyes frowned. "You think we have a choice?" She finally turned to face him. "We always have a choice," she said. "Even when we feel small." Outside, the world was waking up to the truth. They weren't alone, and someone older than anyone had returned. On the planet below, the tension between the Zalari and the Cathar remained high. More Zalari ships landed. Officers in golden armor stepped out, eyes scanning everything with cold calculation. One of them approached Kale. "Commander," he said sharply, "you are to stand down. This is now a high command operation." Kale didn't move. "I was sent to observe," he said. "To understand." The officer gave him a hard look. "And now you will obey." Before Kale could argue, the Cathar leader raised a hand. "You fear us," it said. The officer's jaw tightened. "You woke up after centuries," he said. "You brought machines back to life. You appeared near our borders without warning." "Yes, we fear you." The Cathar stepped closer. "Fear is not wisdom," it said. "Nor is it strength." It looked at Alara again. "She understood first," it said. "Because she did not come to conquer. She came to explore." There was a pause. Then the Cathar added, "Perhaps others can still learn." The officer didn't answer. He looked at Kale. "Stand down," he repeated. Kale hesitated. Then slowly, he stepped back. The officer nodded once and turned to the Cathar. "We demand answers," he said. "Now." The Cathar didn't flinch. "Ask," it said simply. But before the officer could speak, the sky lit up, a new signal, coming from across the galaxy, from another of the towers, another awakening. Ilara's scanner beeped. She checked the display. 5 more locations lighting up, across enemy lines, across neutral zones, across old battlefields. The Cathar had not just returned. They were awakening everywhere. Back on Earth, the news spread like fire. Every major city buzzed with talk of the Cathar. Some feared invasion, others saw opportunity. Protesters gathered outside government buildings, demanding transparency. Scientists worked non-stop to decode the images from the ruins. And in the quiet halls of the United Earth Council, a vote was about to take place. Should Earth reach out, or should it prepare for war? Dr. Chen stood before the council. "The Cathar are not our enemies," she said, "unless we make them so." General Reyes crossed his arms. "You sound like you trust them." "I sound like I believe in choices," she said. "And right now we have one." The vote was cast. The result, a mission, not military, not diplomatic, exploratory. Just like Alara, Earth would send a team to meet the Cathar, to learn, to choose peace. Back on the red planet, Alara stood at the edge of the ruins, watching the Solari ships prepare to leave. Kale walked up beside her. "You did something today," he said. "Something bigger than either of us." She looked at him. "I didn't plan any of this." He smiled slightly. "That's what makes it real." She glanced back at the Cathar leader. He was speaking with other members of his kind, sharing knowledge, memories, plans. She took a breath. "So, what happens now?" Kale looked toward the sky. Now, he said, everything changes. Above them, the stars shone brighter than ever. Across the galaxy, the future was being written, and it had only just begun. Let me know if you'd like this entire story turned into a full book-style format, or if you'd like to continue with more sci-fi stories like this.